our case, I think the recreational purposes have to be incorporated into the desire for wilderness, considering that our property hasn't been pristine for hundreds of years. The reality is that we use funding to survive, and only when we can prove value to human existence can we remain viable as an organization. This could have been said at any point during the long nationwide discussion of the wilderness ideal. The wilderness ideal is a debate about how people should deal with the unspoiled earth we have left, what its uses could be, and whether humanity should have it in place at all. It attempts to reconcile the desire for some of the untouched landscape to explore with demands of the modern world for land and resources. These debates have moved further towards the fringes of cities in the 21st century as wilderness has largely disappeared around population centers. In Green Bay, we have nearly 500 acres of wildland right in the middle of our city. In this area, we have a perfect example of the shifts in wilderness thought for our country. From recreation to farmland, from wild trails to paved trails, the area has been many things and many uses by many people. The Baird Creek Greenway offers a look at the policies of wise use and what Maureen Meinhardt, head of the Baird Creek Preservation Foundation and the source of our opening lines, said point to the struggle of public uses in areas like Baird to prove their usefulness for their own survival.
The wilderness ideal started in America, in the hands of writers and artists who wanted a refuge from civilization. It was a luxury item for people who were wealthy enough to have time to spend outside of the factories and fields. These men romanticized the forest and desired its preservation as a pristine thinking ground and a place to connect to their hardworking pioneer forefathers and countrymen. As Roderick Nash wrote in Wilderness and the American Mind, a common enemy united the early conservationists, but they soon realized that as wide differences existed within their own house as between it and the exploiters. Men who thought they were colleagues found themselves opponents. The schism ran between those who defined conservation as the wise use of planned development of resources and those who have been termed preservationists, with their rejection of utilitarianism and advocacy of nature unaltered by man. It went this way, some men retreating into the wild and some people profiting off of the wilderness in many ways. Some outdoorsmen began to realize that their wise use was decimating the areas they loved. These men formed what has been called a wilderness cult, a group of like-minded individuals who set out to enact legislation to keep some wild areas for posterity. They saw wild areas themselves as a resource on the same plane as the timber and the coal that could be pulled from them. One such man was eventually elected president, and through him, the movement was then trumpeted from the highest office in America. Other men in this cult were prominent thinkers and ecologists and began to flesh out a connection between the health of humans and the health of the earth around them. With its history of frontier life and outdoor living, Wisconsin has been a cradle for some of these important thinkers and thoughts. John Muir and Alda Leopold both spent time in Wisconsin, and their reach is felt in our community in the naming of parks and schools. Their ideas live on here too, in our large greenway that attempts to save a more natural land, while allowing its use for recreation and education.